Previously in X-Men, Cyclops is back with the team after the group tussles with the master of magnetism, Magneto himself, in issue 150. Now, we see a turn of that character in the last issue. We see a turn from Magneto where he recognizes that he's become the very thing that he hates. He's become a violent killer of children, of innocent children. So he has off for who knows how long or who knows where he went, but he is off on a 150 issue redemption arc that Chris Claremont has planned from this moment. It is 1981. He plans to redeem the greatest villain of the X-Men franchise by issue 300. We need to see if this happens. What could possibly come in the way of that happening? Could it be egos? Could it be commerce? Who knows? We will see. But today, we are reading X-Men 151 by Chris Claremont, Jim Sherman, Bob McLeod, and Joe Rubenstein, I believe, on inks as well.
Yeah.
On episode, can you believe it, 62?
62
of our never-ending Tuesday night live stream featuring the issues of the X-Men that made it unbelievable. But I guess really what I want to say is I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of Seven Comics, and welcome to our never-ending Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that made it a classic as we read Uncanny X-Men 151 or Classic X-Men 55. With a cover date
was that one of the ones that I got for you?
November 1981 is when this came out. This is one of the issues that you picked up for me at the Dragon in Guelph.
Yes.
That I received from you at Fan Expo Canada.
Yes.
This past summer. This is a crazy cover by one of the Cooper brothers. Some real interesting scope and scale to it, and some real sloppy details in the middle that won't translate here on the screen. Chris, my friend, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm really good. I read this issue, and I have some thoughts to share. But I read it, and we were talking about the Magneto redemptive arc, and but it made me start looking at clips of the X-Men movies on YouTube. And like the fight scenes. I was like, I just want to watch some of this stuff. And there was one that made me think, we've talked a lot about that Claremont's desire to have, or the intention to have Magneto really take the place of Professor Xavier, like become the leader, the headmaster of the school, lead the students. And there's a scene in, it's not the greatest X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix, when they're on the train, right, and they're fighting those aliens, right, and Michael Fassbender's Magneto runs that team like a field unit, and it's like, I mean, I know they're kids, I know they're younger, portrayed he's older, but he like directs them. Like Xavier's kind of like McAvoy's like, oh, help me, Scott, gotta get to Jean, and he can't really move, right. But Fassbender's Magneto is in the thick of it, fighting and directing, like Hank helped Storm do this. And I was like, oh, that's it. Like, that's the Magneto as leader, right? As taking younger mutants under his wing in a positive, or at least that has a positive outcome to it.
Right.
And I don't know. It just really kind of spoke to me, that scene, just the leadership piece. And then what could Magneto become, given both his actual physical prowess, but also his leadership skills.
So many things to unpack there. I'm into all of that, by the way. That's great. And I also have been absolutely obsessed, more so in the last 7 days than I have in the past 61 weeks, with thinking about X-Men, that big picture. I don't want to say the X-Men's grand design. Like, I don't want to go into that Treasury edition series that's right there, from Ed Piskor, which I dig for what it is. But this idea of Claremont having a vision, and it's all about negotiating that vision with other collaborators, and it going from, again, being a canceled book that's just in reprints, and him through his custodianship and his creativity and that vision of making it the top selling Marvel comic and ongoing series in American comics through the 1980s, 17-year run, and then leading to being like the first feature film franchise with superheroes in the modern era. That whole thing, like just this giant scope of it, and I cannot get past the fact that he didn't get to finish it. Like I've just been reading the issues where it falls apart on a bigger scale.
Right.
And reading every interview I can get with him and listening to every documentary and his take on the end. And it really is that it just becomes so successful that Marvel can no longer let it just be Chris Claremont's. They're like, the guy's been on the book forever and we need more titles. So for 5 years, they just milk as many titles as they can. I that's just me in the utter. They milk as many series.
I feel that through the screen, by the way.
It's because of the noise.
It's a squelchiness.
Trying to get every spin-off and multiple X-Men titles going because they realize, like, we're, from a corporate point of view, we're losing money by not doing that.
Right. And
eventually, he can't manage all of it. He has a couple partners he trusts with Louise Simonson, Anna Senti, and some artists that he can collaborate well with. And eventually you butt up against, like, Marvel wants more dynamic. We want to make more color on brighter paper. We want an art style that's fresher. And the only way to do this is to work with these egos of these kids. And it's just like the guy is, a handful. And the first thing they do is we're going to restart the status quo with adjectiveless X-Men #1, which is like, so Magneto has to be the big villain again. It's like, I've been doing this for 17 years. At the last minute, we're switching the whole thing, bringing the whole thing to a halt. And Magneto has to go villain.
Wow.
Just because the corporate vision supersedes the creative, like the better version of the narrative. Okay, so that's on my mind. It's going to come up every single week when we talk about this as we move closer to the climax of Claremont's run and as Magneto comes in out. But I have to continue with just this one thought about like the beautiful wisdom behind moving Magneto into the is it the chair of the school is the position? The headmaster. That the whole thing, and this connects to Andor. Before we do that, to me, my ex-friend, says Jason Lowe, we will talk about Marvel Legends in a couple minutes, Jason. We'll get there, I promise. Really glad to have you with us. Glad to have you with us. It's a real treat, as always. Andor. And listening to the conversations about what made season 1 of Andor, or one of the many things that made season 1 of Andor so good, was Tony Gilroy, the writer or the head writer, really takes this character who wants nothing to do with the rebellion, and through a series of like tortures, moves that character's desire to participate in the rebellion. If he starts here and goes to here, it's not as dramatic, but he starts here. He's nothing to do with it. And I think it's the same thing with Magneto. You got a guy whose dream of the future is his vision for how to get to the future is all the way over here, and he's gonna have to come all the way and switch spots. So
which makes it so much more fulfilling, and the payoff to be that much just worthwhile.
Right. What a great thing to do is to take the character furthest from that and move him all the way there. And I think that was the sound of action figures falling. That is an awesome thing to do. And I'm so tempted for us when we get, near Jim Lee's run, like the fan fiction Divergence to finish Claremont's run. I'm like, we need to do this.
Do it.
We need to see it.
Stop this. Let's do it.
Gary, how are you? Hope you're well tonight and glad you could join us. And the last thing I wanted to say, the thing you raised about Magneto as headmaster, like, wouldn't it be cool to see?
Yeah.
Maybe you should read X-Men Apocalypse or Age of Apocalypse.
Right.
Because the premise essentially is, we need to do another annual crossover with all the X-Men titles because Claremont's first one was such a success. We've now instituted as policy. They call it tradition. It wasn't a tradition. Wow. Claremont and Simonson do it once, and it's such a hit. They're like, "Oh, you got to do it again."
What's that storyline?
The first one would be the Mutant Massacre.
Oh, sure. Because I have some of the Daredevil and the Senti comics that, have some tie-ins, some Daredevil.
Right, and of course, Wheezy Simonson is writing Power Pack,
right,
and X Factor,
right,
and her husband's on Thor.
Yeah.
So it just ties through those things because it's their little thing.
Okay.
And it was so successful as the first kind of intertitle crossover,
right,
that they're like, oh no, this is now it's tradition. So they Shooter, the editor in chief, imposed one on them the year after, and they lied and said, oh no, we already have something planned. That idea is not like, we're going to do something different because we already have a plan for all this. So they have to do one, but they're not doing the one that was sort of handed down from on high.
Right.
But Age of Apocalypse is like, what if Xavier was killed never turned into Charles Xavier? So
it's a futuristic one too. Right?
Well, it's because Apocalypse takes over because the X-Men aren't there. So Magneto's team is like the Brotherhood, essentially, without there ever having the resistance of the X-Men. So all the mutants are involved, and he is trying to fight Apocalypse. But it's like his nightmare future comes to pass, essentially, and he needs to be involved. Which sounds like another ripoff, by the way, of Days of Future Past in another way.
Yeah.
As much as they say it's such an original idea, it's like, well, we just saw that. So
and he's and Magneto is in the future in Days of Future Past, and is the leader of
right.
That's
there. He's already in the wheelchair.
Exactly. Everyone's already done that with the kid from Power Pack.
Which kid from Power Pack?
Isn't one of Franklin Richards is he in Power Pack?
Oh yeah.
He's in right, and he gets wasted in Days of Future Past Part 2.
Don't you forget it.
Don't you forget it, Franklin Richards.
Hey, Trevor. How are you, man? Hope you're well. So now we'll just take a moment and talk about Marvel Legends.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Jason wants to talk about Chode finally getting a Marvel Legends figure. Finally. Yes, we haven't all, no one has it in hand yet. We've just seen the pictures. It's going to be the Build-A-Figure for the new X-Men wave coming out this year. And it is the controversy would be the downside, and I'll go to the upside last. The downside is that it's a reuse of an older body for like the Abomination. So we're not getting a lot of new pieces. We're just getting a new head. There is not a lot of coloring on it.
What's that thing on his shoulder?
Yeah, it's a thing on his shoulder.
Does it have a name?
It does have a name, and I don't need to know it.
Right, I'm sure Jason knows it. Jason, what's that thing on his shoulder? Like little weasel or something.
So there are lots of people who are complaining about.
Oh, you're on mute. Hold on, people.
I think I just something. Anyway, thank you. There are people, complaining about a toy that, of course, they don't have to buy if they don't want to. But it's not enough new pieces to make some people happy. Other people are really happy to get a Chode figure. My feeling is it is not the front of anyone's display. Like, there's nobody who is like playing with this thing as the centerpiece of their collection.
Right.
So if it has a new head and it just sort of sits head above the rest of the Starjammers in your display, it's going to be fine.
Right.
But paying for it is kind of where it might hurt for some people. And it could use maybe a little bit of paint variety on it, but then opportunity for customizers. So yeah, there you go.
Trevor says his name is Cree. Is that its name? Okay.
Claremont's Legacy. There you go. That could be the name of the fan fiction. I'm sure someone's already done it, right? Because it's too perfect a decision to make. I think.
Oh, you're still on mute again. Oh, you muted yourself again.
No, you're muting yourself.
I didn't touch nothing.
Anything. I wonder.
Here you go again. It's weird. You'll can no longer hear your voice. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm seeing it happen, but I'm wondering. There's nothing that's getting touched. We'll see. Maybe my mic is dying.
I think it's your my private photo on this site from the chat that's interfering with your volume.
Oh boy! Thank you for
get out of here. My private photo on this chat.
So No details on this figure. Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is, and I get why people aren't going to be happy with it. So it's okay. But Trevor's got a good point for sure. David Cutler says, "Hey, David. By the way, Happy New Year. Hey guys, been so long. I got to watch one live. I thought it started at 10.
We'd be asleep. It's hard for me to get at 9. Jason's a bit of a night owl, but you know
What did Jason forget?
the name. I was like, "What's the name?"
Oh, right. I'm way back in.
It's Cree.
I'm glad Jason likes Chode, but count me in the disappointment. Count me in the disappointment camp. Yeah, I don't necessarily like it. I'm not gonna probably get one. I don't need to finish my Starjammers. I'm happy with just Corsair. If I was gonna get some Starjammers,
You only want a Starjammer. You don't require Starjammers.
And I might not even keep him after a while. Like he might be one of those things where
skunk girl.
Yeah.
What was her name? Girl skunk.
Hepzibah.
No, not girl skunk. Okay.
I would be very happy to like my X-Men shelf, which I need to redo. It's too vast at the moment, which is great. It's a great feeling, but there's a limit for me, and it's probably just going to stick to various versions of the heroes and some key villains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, it's his friend, not his pet, dude.
Sorry.
Thank you, Trevor.
Not his pet, it's his friend.
Yeah. And David says, but Chode's paint is so bright. If he's in your collection, he's all anyone's going to look at. When you're entertaining elite guests.
Yeah, he's the centerpiece of your dinner party, right?
You're like, your Chode is too bright. Claremont's legacy, Chode. Yes. Hopefully we get a Mafex Chode.
What's a Mafex Chode?
So or Mafex. It's an import toy.
But like expensive, I imagine.
Yes, it would be like at that size, $250 Chode.
Nice. Hepzibah.
David Cutler backs up my Hepzibah. Yeah.
Hepzibah.
I do not need all the Starjammers, Trevor. It's to each their own. To each their own. I found myself responding to someone's negative talk on Kevin, aka Toying Around's Instagram, and Kevin just like he's like, dude, you don't even have to reply to these. Obviously people are gonna be negative about something every time, but I'm not negative about the Starjammers as a whole. I'm just not emotionally invested in them yet.
Fair enough.
And I find also with the Build-A-Figures, they have to be for me to want to buy the all 6 pieces or 7 pieces. There's always a few that I haven't even finished yet that I love. I'm still trying to get that body for Sauron, and it's been like 3 years. So who knows?
Who knows?
And all the Imperial Guard. Hey, so my question to you guys in the chat there, Chris and I, we've read the initial appearance of the Shi'ar Empire and the Imperial Guard and the Starjammers, and I know we're going to get them again between now and let's just say Jim Lee's time, and I know they come back in that Jim Lee just before the Muir Island thing. I guess is it the Extinction Agenda or whatever it is? They're like right in that time period of these suits, those ones. Woohoo! But why do you guys all care? Like, what's the big deal to you, please? I mean that sincerely. Like, what's the big deal to you about the Starjammers and about the Imperial Guard? Why do they matter? To me, it feels like they were just like a 1 or 2 time reoccurring set of characters. I don't have a big love for them, but I noticed there is a huge emotional response. So what haven't I read that you guys have read that makes you love those characters? I'm interested in that, because I might get around to reading it and then I'll want them too. David, you can. Yeah, is this like these lyrics to a song you're making up?
Well, it's bright green, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, the Fang figure I'm a little bit more, sentimental about just because it's the whole Wolverine suit thing, that one joke, but it's not easy to be Chode. Thank you. You guys are hilarious.
We're going to just stop reading X-Men comics and instead talk about Chode 100% of the time.
Yes, it is. You can see, Chris, it's like really gotten these guys talking. Like it's a big deal, and so the figure got shown yesterday, I guess. Was it yesterday?
And so it's in the X-Men wave that like
yes,
currently showed, like that Wolverine.
No,
No,
you're totally wrong. No, these current figures. This is a retro card wave. It would mean a wave that are on action figure cards that are old fashioned from the 90s, like so.
Yeah.
And these do not come with a build-a-figure.
Right. Okay.
Right. So the next X-Men wave, and the guys in the chat, can help me flesh it out. But Fang is in it. An astonishing X-Men Cyclops, Corsair.
Astonishing X-Men Cyclops would be good. Like that. That's a good.
For me, that's like
I like that one.
Oh yeah, me too. Oh, Emma Frost. In a.
Oh, is it clothed Emma Frost this time?
I mean, I don't know. I just see her heart and soul.
Hazmat suit Emma Frost. Yeah.
Right. Emma Frost, and who else is in that? Oh, and then right, exactly. 2 characters that we don't know: Monet Saint Croix and Chamber.
Isn't Chamber the guy who has his no mouth?
There is an era of X-Men,
yeah,
where they wear red suits.
Yeah,
and it's called Generation X.
Yes, I remember that.
And it's like super Jason Lowe territory.
Okay,
like 90s, where I was
here. Okay,
I was probably already dating my now wife by then. Nice. So, it's David says, me and Jason are hardcore fans of those two and their era. So like I just missed it, right? I wasn't reading X-Men at all during that time, but
I don't know Monet Saint Croix.
Me neither. But she does show up when I kind of got back into it. I think and I think she has powers of persuasion through pheromones. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know. You guys have to tell us, and that's totally fine. David says, I really like Gladiator, his son Warbird, and Deathbird. But other than that, the Shi'ar and Imperial Guard do nothing for me. Deathbird is cool, I think. It definitely would be a cool action figure. I don't know if I know Warbird yet. But, Gladiator's neat, too. And when certain artists draw him, he looks really good. Jim Lee's Gladiator is smoking. Like, he's really good character. Money, right. And David says, I think it's just their connection to a great point in X-Men history. See, I always feel like with action figures, like what makes them great is when there's a great story with, like, when the figure does storytelling for you. Like when you look at it, you're like, and you relive the story by even just looking at that action figure. Or maybe I'm just talking crazy. Who knows? No. Jason says, I was in high school at the same time Jubilee went back to the academy. Okay. There you go. So we'll figure it out. Chris.
Yes.
X-Men 151.
Here we go.
Yeah, man. This is not to be sold, by the way. It says there's a nice stamp right on that cover.
Oh, yeah. Not to be sold. Well, someone bought it.
On our graphic, by the way, I went, like, on our thumbnail for this video, I changed the colors on some of the costumes.
Oh, did you?
I had to. Colossus does not wear orange.
Right.
So I went and...
it's like they have that yellow already in the X and on her dress. Can't you just add it to Colossus?
It's... You know what? I thought about it, and I was like, I don't want to make it the same color as her dress because I want her to pop.
Sure.
So I... here. I softened her yellow. I softened... the yellow, so it'd fade a little black, but I didn't let the orange be part of it because the orange is Wolverine's color. So I went after Storm's highlights.
Yes.
And I went after Colossus's yellow pieces, and I dulled them to push them further into the background. But I would not go orange. I think that's just terrible.
And this is a Cockrum cover, but he does not do the pencils on the inside, on the interiors.
True, and he did. Don't forget, he did a lot of covers, even when Byrne was on the series. So covers seem to be a thing that he is big on, and I think his cover layouts are often, pretty good. I don't dig that Nightcrawler pose. I can't exactly figure what mood he's supposed to be expressing.
Yeah, I came across this cover and felt like it was really. I mean, it's clearly Kitty is in the center. She is the focus.
Yes.
She's got some energy, but the rest of the team there's no energy in any of that. It's kind of blah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Trevor's still got a lot of time on my hands. Truthfully, it's like a click of the button. I just used the fill tool, and it just did it. I just had a second to think about it, and it was bugging me enough. It didn't take more than 30 seconds. Yeah, Kurt's pose is very come hither. It's something. I mean, we see his tail is wrapped around the railing.
It's almost a playfulness.
And he keeps putting Wolverine in the background. I'm talking he meaning Cockrum. He just buries him. What I really dislike is that no one is helping her carry this really heavy suitcase. The gentleman in me is like, let's help you,
Kitty. I can help you, Kitty.
Like he can carry, Colossus can carry her and the suitcase in one arm.
Right.
So it's too funny.
Yeah.
I'm also going to point out, I think, all the time. Trevor says, come hither. Every time, these artists have a tough time rendering a young woman.
Okay, so I was gonna bring that up. Big time, especially when you contrast this with the opening splash.
Yes. So a few thoughts about that. I don't have a lot.
Oh, where'd you go? Where did you go? Where did you go? Remember that Mighty Mighty Boss Jones song, everybody? Where did you go?
All right. I'm here. So I don't have a lot of experience drawing comics, just a few years, and never for Marvel or anything like that. So I haven't had to work with characters that already have models established. Mm-hmm. But I have learned that it is advantageous to draw out model sheets and to have character expressions of the characters in the story with a wide variety of emotions being expressed, that then when you have to draw that emotion, you can refer back to that sheet to keep things on model. Sure. In this issue, it is very clear that no one is drawing from model sheets. They are making up each drawing every single time, and the faces vary a lot. I am definitely a culprit of that practice, and I would like to eliminate it as a pattern of behavior. But I kind of expect a little bit better out of, I guess, guys from Marvel at this time. But it will be good fodder for us throughout the episode today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Should we go to the first, and then we can really...
Sure. So Cockrum's not drawing this issue, is what you were alluding to before by saying he did the cover.
Right.
And what we get is Jim Sherman, Bob McLeod, and Joseph Rubenstein and on art. And Bob McLeod, I know, goes on to draw the New Mutants.
Oh, okay.
And Jim Sherman...
Claremont, right.
Yes. And the graphic novel... And Louise Simonson is editing that book as well. And eventually she takes over that book.
So that starts soon?
It starts next year.
In 82.
Starts in... Okay, the graphic novel comes out in 82, and the series starts in 83.
Okay.
So here's the thing. So there's many things here. The Marvel graphic novels are coming out as standalone, oversized books that are on better paper and whatnot. Mm-hmm. They were running late with the next Marvel graphic novel, and so they adapted what was going to be New Mutants #1 and probably issue 2, or I think just issue 1. They adapted it to become the graphic novel. It was never intended to be a graphic novel. So Louise Simonson had to somehow go back basically to script and figure out if they could like pad it to get 10 more pages for this graphic novel.
Right.
So Bob McLeod is on art duties. The inspiration was, let's try and, go back to the original premise that Lee and Kirby have of these teenagers at a school.
Right.
Combined with the international flavor of the all new, all different X-Men. So each of them kind of comes from a different country and has a locale that's sort of distinct for their personality and their look. But I wonder if they're already thinking at this time to start that process and figure out who could be the next artist. You know what I mean? Like, right. That's why I'm saying, is this like a Try-Out issue? Are they saying, hey, Jim Sherman, hey, Bob McLeod, let's see what you guys got. Let's do a couple issues where you're on art duties. And if we need another artist, maybe this is the right fit to have
Mhm.
people,
Well,
basically in pocket, ready to do a spinoff issue.
to be fair, and maybe that translates to the actual content of this issue because some stuff happens, but not a lot of stuff happens.
Right.
Especially given the kind of action adventure of the week flavor that we've been used to leading up with the second run of Cockrum and Claremont. Villain of the week, action of the week, adventure of the week. This one's quite muted in most spaces
Yeah.
when we put it in that kind of sequential order. So yeah,
And
maybe that's an interesting that could be an actual outcome. Is hey, let's try you out on a few things.
And I wonder if they're trying to set up a little bit more of the dynamic of what would the younger character adventures be like with a new school. So we're going to take, Kitty
Mhm.
Pryde, being the youngest character, who doesn't become a member of the New Mutants. Like she's sort of, it's going to be an interesting dynamic, but it would have been a
Adjacent.
nice, easy fit to just put her as like the leader of that
As
team.
like right,
And,
she's the Cyclops. She's the bridge.
right.
Right.
And
She's
they call her up when they want to,
mm.
and
Yeah,
she
it's like the
wears the
Marleys,
costume.
the big leagues.
Exactly. David says, I'm guilty of it. And I think he's talking about the model, right? For expediency, my model often ends up being the last panel I drew something in. And I do find it causes a drift. Oh, yeah, for sure. I hear you.
Mm.
He continues, McLeod has said he was offered a choice between Fallen Cockrum on X-Men or New Mutants, and he picked New Mutants because co-creator royalties at the time for a new title were really lucrative. There you go. Cool. I've read Byrne made more from Alpha Flight than he ever did in X-Men. Yeah, I've heard something similar too, right? Because it's the character royalties.
Mm.
But I think about sales. I mean, Alpha Flight did sell a ton, but yeah, there you go.
Hmm.
Interesting stuff. Thank you, David. So here we go. We get Kitty Pryde in a room with Professor X, and she's not dressed.
Right.
Storm walks in, and she's not dressed.
Nope.
Cyclops and Nightcrawler are dressed. Colossus is not dressed. Wolverine has a towel and
Yep.
a cigarette. So I can't figure out what's going on there.
Well, and then we get the again the inconsistencies in how characters are treated artistically through this issue. So like, if we take a look at how Kitty as younger teen on the front cover, and then you contrast that with this, you're like, the face, the body, all of it is not that.
Yeah.
So, and we see it throughout the issues. It's just inconsistency is what it is. And even this Xavier body, it feels like is out of proportion. The shoulders up to the head. I don't know. It just seems. So yeah, maybe it's try out.
Yeah, it is weird. And then there's that weird, just tiny bit where there is a screen tone being used on Xavier's jacket to give it a texture.
Oh sure, yeah.
But then the colorist decides to stop as they reach the shoulder. To sort of show that highlight coming over his shoulder from a light source that is not visible, but let's assume it's a window to the right. But the screen tone is still there. It looks really weird. Just I don't know. It looks weird to my eye.
Yeah,
it's just strange page.
It is.
Yeah, with the towel with Wolverine. What was he doing? Was he? Yeah. Okay. Let's just assume they're coming from the danger room. He's having a schwitz. The other ones are coming from the pool. They're dry. Okay, moving on. Big news. Kitty Pryde's parents have withdrawn her from the school.
That's what this whole first 10 pages are about.
Yes, and they go through the back and forth for some reason of what? How can they do that? Well, they're her parents.
Yeah.
We have no legal right to detain her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next. Go ahead.
No, just whenever you flip, I'm ready to.
There you go. Yeah. See, they are her parents, Nightcrawler. Well, I don't know how they do it in Germany, but here,
private school is allowed
to edit it
out. Yeah. And this weird panel, like where Nightcrawler's head is like crammed in there, in that top one, just odd, really odd.
I do like seeing, and so, but then we get this is the wild thing. We get the maturations of a younger Kitty kind of running off and crying, like through Cyclops, like a bigger brother, younger sister type thing, running through which I think is a really cool effect. And then then the next page, she's back to being 19, early 20, whatever it is. It's so all over the place.
Yeah, even just the first drawing of her in the top left-hand corner. Like the chin size on her, like that is a strong-jawed adult.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and then when she runs through Cyclops, his head is larger than her torso, and it looks like it's Submariner next to him. By the way,
it does. It looks like I was going to say Namor.
Yeah, and she runs so fast and she phases so quickly that she loses her shirt. It is weird.
And then we get that kind of that fifth panel of the Wolverine face.
He's looking right at us.
He's breaking down that wall.
He's breaking the fourth wall and looking at us being like, guys, are you really going to read this?
Are you sure you want to read this? All right. Or at least you want to look at the art? Okay.
And then Submariner again, by the way. There's 2 panels of Submariner. Yeah. That's so funny.
You could easily just draw little wings in those feet, and there you go.
Yeah, it looks like he's tiptoeing as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So then, Kitty goes up to her room, which has super cool computer stuff.
Well, because she's the super cool computer girl.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to sit at a desk where there's no leg room?
You know what? I have been in the back of a cop car, no leg room.
Tell me more about this, Chris.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no. It's not a really fun story, but it was interesting because I got to be in the back of a cop car. Our car in the middle, we were driving the cottage, it spun out, and we were in a snowbank. We had to get someone to take us out. And the OPP officer came to help us out and call a tow truck. And he was like, it's winter. And he's like, do you want to just get in the back of my car and stay warm? I was like, yeah, sure. By the way, kids out there, if a cop ever says, get in the back of my cop car to stay warm, you take that at your own peril. But anyway,
this story sucks.
It does suck. But I was surprised when I went back. I was like, wow. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised. I'm like, it is not comfortable back here. Not that I was expecting it to be comfortable, but I thought I'd have more legroom. But I did not. So there you go. There is your reason for not getting in the back of a cop car.
So Kitty Pryde is in a room crying.
Well, you've moved right off from that story, haven't you? Okay,
Storm shows up. I really do love that drawing of Storm, though, when she's like leaning over. I think it's just a very good drawing. That one. Yeah, good drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And Kitty wants nothing to do with, being comforted. And she's like, listen, dude, do you know where I'm going? Firstly, I'm staying in my bikini as long as possible because, boys read this comic.
Right.
And they're sending me to the school that Emma Frost runs, the woman from the Hellfire Club that tried to kill us.
Right. Which apparently is news to the rest of the X-Men.
Right. Yeah. Crazy.
It just, again, it's just, we've got, we went through a whole Hellfire Club, massive battle, Phoenix, Emma Frost, all these things. She disappears. They don't know where she goes. And Kitty happens to know that she is the headmistress of this rival private school.
Hold on. We knew that when she came to recruit Kitty at the beginning, when Kitty's first appearance, she was the other teacher and she was from that other school. Remember, she walked up. So we knew.
But why? But still, it's still presented as like a reveal. Like,
right. Well, that's
the Hellfire. If she runs this, like, wouldn't we keep track on her?
You'd figure, or at least murder her in her sleep. Or send Wolverine.
Right.
Just from an art point of view, I think McLeod drew this page. I just feel like there's a better flow to it, and
I agree.
The characters stay on model.
Mm-hmm.
Better. All right.
Mm-hmm. It's more consistent.
Yeah.
All right.
Jim Sherman's a punk. I'm just joking.
He should belong in the back of a cop car.
And sometimes if you're a experienced inker, you'll just kind of like tweak some faces too to make them consistent.
Right.
Not to let your penciler look bad.
Yeah.
So they give the reader a little flashback as to what's going on. You can see Storm's fist is clenched. she's getting real stressed about this because she's getting triggered. I guess I want to use that phrase instead.
Trauma, yeah.
They're showing how White Queen immobilized 3 of the most powerful X-Men of that time and tortured them, and then was defeated and assumed dead after Phoenix managed her.
Yes. And then we get this very strange bottom picture of Storm.
Yeah, massive head, like huge skull. Yeah. Tiny shoulders. And she's starting to think about all the trauma she experienced there, and she calls Kitty selfish.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's a really good panel, by the way. The first one on the next page. Just there's like really good animation. Yeah.
And again, but then Kitty now looks 9.
Kitty looks like a little kid. And I'm all cool with that version of her. Like, let's do that. I just think it's a very well-drawn panel. Like, good drama, really good animation to it. The intensity. And look at the volume on Storm's hair. Ooh.
It's got some heft to it.
And then we get a flashback of Storm's origins,
which I don't think works artistically, because it took me a while. I'm like, is that a head? Oh, it's a plane. It's eyes. What's going on? That panel. It took me a while to focus. It's like, oh, there's her head. Oh, that's her face. Oh, wait, they're being shot by a World War II plane.
Yeah, not an easy thing to try and manage.
Like, they're being blitzed.
Right.
What's happening? Is this North by Northwest? What's going on?
That symbol, like that version of a cross, from the propeller, it sends signals of like Germany World War I flag.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I mean, I can see why. Like, first thing you're like, Blitz, what?
Yeah.
Not an easy graphic thing to try and communicate, and it didn't work. But man, it's really hard to do that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, then they have a hug, and she's still wearing her bikini, and then she's going away. So that's it. Accept it. You've lost. You're going away to the school, and now we get this really weird colored page where Wolverine's suit is colored weird. Nightcrawler's not colored. Cyclops is in a full suit because that's what a 25 or 30-year-old wears in 1981 at home. Sure.
Well, I mean, yeah. And you get in the roles and on your way.
You see how Peter's carrying her bags? Like, that's what I expected out of you.
That should have been on the cover. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. She could be crying in Storm's arms, or having that moment, or I don't know.
Right.
But lugging a suitcase.
Cyclops wouldn't hear of it though. He's like, no final X-Men lesson. You carry your own bags to the car.
Right.
Mister.
Then we get on the next page a series of goodbyes.
Yep.
She goes with each person.
I mean, it's cute. Some of them are cute because you get to have like the relationship explained a bit more. Like her, I don't think the pumpkin thing works. Pumpkin, like from Kitty and Logan. I just never. I know they introduced it a couple issues ago, and it just doesn't seem a right fit for me.
What do you mean, pumpkin?
Right.
Don't you love it when I call you pumpkin?
Well, pumpkin. It's different. It's a different thing.
Canadians do call people regularly pumpkin. That's
yes, there are various gourds that we do use as affection. Right?
Yeah, we're a big fan of gourds.
Squash, acorns. Yeah, the Gordie Howe, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of gourds. I don't like the disembodied Nightcrawler head.
Yeah, neither do I.
Weird. And then we get the first romantic kiss between Cyclops and Colossus and Kitty.
Cyclops is probably, perving it up, hearing it from the corner.
Well, we're not going to get into whether or not this is appropriate or not. We know it isn't.
We know it is not.
Accepted it and moving on. But we know they kissed under the mistletoe before, and that was sort of more playful. And this is like an actual, a real one.
This is an embrace.
Listen, mister, Trevor says. David says, I don't think pumpkin ever goes away. I believe it's still confused. Pumpkin. Okay. Yeah, it's good old Canadian pumpkin. And Storm comes down to drive her.
Yes. Yeah. And Cyclops says the weirdest thing.
What's that?
He
Mister?
says, do you need, he's like, do you want me to come with you? Because it's going to be a long trip and possibly dangerous. Why on earth would it be possibly dangerous to drive to another school?
That's Massachusetts.
Yeah, man. I don't. Have you driven those roads of upstate New York and Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Have you driven through
With
Westchester? You best watch yourself.
I've driven upstate New York with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Good times.
And Ricky Lima. I miss that guy.
Yeah,
Baby.
baby.
You know that it is Cyclops' nickname, that he's Slim Summers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So David Cutler's pointing out that this drawing on probably the bottom left panel here is the skinniest Cyclops he's ever seen.
It's like Cyclops hasn't eaten well, right? I mean, now he was stranded on that desert island.
Was.
So
yes.
I believe that if that was more canonical,
So this is a no prize. This is the exact kind of thing where you'd say this version of Cyclops does not work. This is an error in drawing. And you're like, no. But if you think about it, because he was a castaway,
right?
He's starving and he lost a lot of body mass. So
right,
yeah, totally.
Between starving and all that sex he was having, he just had no. He's lost all those calories.
Hey, where is Lee?
Okay, great. Yeah, who knows?
Scott looks like a 17-year-old prom night.
He looks awkward. Awkward, yeah.
The big dig is real. What's the big dig? Are you looking it up?
No, I know. No. Should I?
No, I don't think so. I have to ask you a question, though.
Yes.
And I feel bad. I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, okay.
But I need to ask you. Okay. Hey, have you seen any modern horror movies? Not gore, but horror, modern horror movies?
Horror movies.
Have you seen any of the Jordan Peele movies? Like any of that kind of stuff?
I have not.
None of them?
I can't think the last. Yeah, no, I can't remember the last time I saw a modern horror movie. Yeah, no.
Okay, so anyone in the chat who can figure out where I'm going with that, let's not spoil for Chris any of those movies because they might be really good for some people. So I've enjoyed a couple, but Chris has not seen them. So I'm seeing a connection between something from a Jordan Peele movie and this issue. And if you see the same connection, that's cool. But I don't want to spoil for my buddy Chris here.
Okay.
Nope. Or smile.
I did hear good things about The Menu.
Cool.
Has a horror thing to it. I mean, we don't consider Prey a horror movie. That's just an awesome Predator flick.
Oh, The Big Dig is Road Construction, Massachusetts. Okay.
Okay. He was a little reference. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good reference. I thought it was something in the comic book that I missed. I was like, Big Dig? What's...
Sykes gotta watch out for that road construction.
Yes, exactly. Dangerous. All right, so off they go.
Off they go on their merry way.
And Kitty's noticing that at the school that that all the kids are rich and brats, and she thinks they're all kind of clones and blech.
Yeah.
She says they'll look alike, like preppy zombie clones. Yuck.
Preppy zombie clones. Wow. That's like the...
Gary says, spoil it. I'm saying no. And David Cutler says, oh, geez, Peel. I see it now. Okay.
Well,
fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough. So we get a really weird looking lady who is...
administrator's person?
Yeah, that face. I don't even know what to say.
Don't know what to say.
Yeah. Anyway, so as Storm is there and Kitty's getting sort of settled, we have this moment where, oh my God, it's Emma Frost.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a throwdown, perhaps. Anyway, a little later.
Yeah, you get the while back at the ranch kind of.
Yes.
Light. You get one word balloon. Light flares, star bright in the room, but that's all we get out of their confrontation.
And heads look upward in confusion and alarm as A peal of thunder rumbles across the cloudless sky. What could that be alluding to? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Joker's aunt. There you go. It looks like a weird, creepy Joker face.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Weatherby.
Weatherby.
Yeah, not a beautiful drawing, but that's okay. Not everyone's beautiful.
Yep.
Anyway, Kitty finds Aurora,
Yep.
and things seem a little bit better.
More
She's like,
importantly,
yeah.
she finds Muffy. So, in the grand pantheon of Claremont's names of random characters,
Oh, we're getting there.
I don't think Muffy holds up, but I'm intrigued to see where it goes. It's not like Phil or Toby.
Right. So Storm is ready to leave, and she's like, I must leave now. And
Yes.
Kitty does not. It sort of says, I'll come with you. But no, that's not the way it's going to go. And they have their hug. And we note here that there's no smile this time. Brave or otherwise, only a fierce embrace that neither of them wants to break. But eventually, sadly, they part and go their separate ways. And I'm Muffy. Yep.
Yep, the Muffster.
The Muffster. All good. I don't fit. I don't belong. That's cool. That's the experience she's going to have. Okay. Trevor says he can go for a pumpkin muffin right now. That's terrible. Now, Storm starts to drive away.
Yep.
And then she pulls off to the side of the road.
Yep.
And she's like, okay, this is going to be fun. And she lets out some weather.
Mm-hmm.
Almost says Grachow, but instead it says
Yeah, good call. Good
Grachow,
point. It's
which
close
they
to
often
Grachow.
use.
Yeah.
And she recites a scene from King Lear.
Yes, she does. Because
And,
Claremont is an educated person.
Yes.
Demonstrate that.
She unleashes the weather and goes up in the sky. And she speaks about it as if it's something that she has not experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're supposed to figure out pretty quickly.
What? Spoil it.
Well, that's not Storm. Or is it, in a way?
Or is it? Well,
Where does it actually say explicitly? I did not become Storm for my own amusement. Does it actually say, though, specifically?
Yeah.
Well, she calls the Hellfire Club.
She calls Hellfire.
Obviously. Says all is going according to plan. Sebastian Shaw. Hey, we get to see that guy again. That's cool.
Yeah.
First time since the Dark Phoenix saga. Storm smoking. It's kind of cool.
Well, that's when you know she's bad, right?
Right, because she smokes.
Yeah, she's smoking.
And then here he says flat out, Miss Frost awakens. So the idea that they've switched.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Oof.
And then we get the best cameos of all time.
Yep.
Harvey.
And
you remember her name? It's not on this page.
It's not on this page. What is it?
So you don't remember? You didn't that wasn't the main thing you were thinking about the entire time reading this issue?
No.
Oh,
Harvey,
I thought that would have been your main takeaway.
Well, there is, I got to say, when she shows up later in costume, I thought that was pretty cool.
It's Janet.
Janet.
Janet and Harvey.
They're going to say Karen for a minute, but yeah, it's Janet.
Fair enough. Karen would be fine.
Could have been Karen. Yeah.
Anyway, they're like, we're not allowed to ever open this. The guest is finally conscious, and our orders forbid any contact with the prisoner. We're to prevent her escape, period. No contact, Harvey. Yeah. So then we get basically Aurora's narration.
Yep.
As the body of Emma Frost wakes. But things feel different. Doesn't seem quite right. And as she turns on the light, there is the horror that I am trapped inside the body. Oh, on the next page. Sorry. I'm trapped inside the body of this skinny ass white woman.
Yeah, it's oh my goodness. Oh, you still there, Jay?
I am here. I'm just waiting for you to turn the page.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. And I'm dealing with some bad people in the chat.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
We're so
Oh
popular.
yeah, there she is, dressed as she realizes she's in the body of Emma Frost. So Emma Frost and Aurora have switched bodies.
Switch bodies.
And then we get a beautiful panel, by the way, just of that full-on, like full cyan sky. Like, just do some good graphic design there. Like, that's a great panel in the middle of the page of Nightcrawler, you know, and his girl Amanda Sefton.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, I've forgotten. Have we met Amanda before? Was she his girlfriend earlier in the series?
He mentioned some. She's a flight steward, right? She's an attendant, I believe. We do see earlier in the series, Peter and him would go on these double dates.
Right. Was she the girl that he was with?
Might have been, and then of course Arcade captured a couple of them for his second.
Do I have to go look?
And then in the last issue, that might be the Arcade issue or the Doctor Doom issue when they are being freed. She mentions that her mom is a sorceress or something, and then this is what they talked about now.
Okay, so it is her. Okay, That's fine. That's all I wanted to know, if it was her or not, and you're saying it is. I'm just looking at Nightcrawler going out with her, then seeing who he's with. But I don't want to bring things to any more of a halt than they already are. That's cool, because I remember you and I talking about her mother being a witch, and us being, of course she is.
Yeah,
as if it was like a normal thing that would happen. Oh, these X-Men! My gosh, I'm like now looking through an old John Byrne issue. Like, this is so good.
I'm just gonna look at this artwork, this pencils right now.
I miss his stuff so much in comparison. Jeepers. Yeah, it's Ms. Amanda. Yeah. So Arcade calls her Ms. Amanda.
Miss Amanda.
Yes. There you go. Hey, Soy-Based Jeremy, how are you? Yo. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. So Nightcrawler's on a date, talking about Amanda Sefton having a moonlight kiss. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very sweet. Very nice.
Very cool. And they get ambushed by, I can't believe it, a Sentinel.
Yep.
Right, David. This is actually in the description. David reminds us her mother is also Kurt's adoptive mother, and they were raised together. So, yeah, good point, buddy. They are just they've been in love since they were children.
They've been smooching for a long time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Different parts of the world, man, have different,
Yeah, but let's just think about the more beautiful side of it. They've been loving each other since the beginning.
Look at that! Look how his tail goes up too. By the way, just saying. It's funny. I bet you that's intentional. I guarantee you that's intentional.
Yes. So these guys are hilarious with stuff like that. So,
exactly. It would be funny if they're kissing.
Nightcrawler's tail is erect.
Tail went up.
You could have drawn it in front of the body, or
right,
so that it was very clear that it was his tail.
Right. Anyway,
that's pretty funny.
There you go.
So we get Sentinel stuff going on, and just regular battle. I find that with these pages, by the way, these Sherman ones, the thing that should be the most dynamic on each page is not really showcased well for my taste. But that's, again, just my taste versus
sure.
What's happening in these issues, or this issue specifically. It really just, we're like narrating a fight here. It's not that exciting.
Really?
Everyone enters the fray eventually. Amanda Sefton is having a wet t-shirt contest.
Looks like.
Yep, they can't resist that stuff.
I kind of like the optic beam coming from the house, though.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're Cyclops, you get involved in all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Wolverine to the rescue. His suit miscolored again on the top half.
Oh yeah, he hasn't got nothing on his arms. It's
yeah, it's weird. We get these Sentinels coming out of the water, and they're
Which is
trying to figure out.
cool shot.
It is.
Cool.
But think about how cool it could be.
Yes. Well, I
Um,
mean, this is the alternate cover. This is the classic X-Men cover, right?
You made a good point. That's right. It's the X-Men. I think it's their reflection on the dome of the head of a sentinel coming out of the green water.
Right.
Really a weird drawing, but and in the reflection, Sprite is leaving the team, her luggage, in her mishmash costume, the hodgepodge. Anyway, so there's just some very undynamic fight stuff happening.
Yeah, and Sebastian Shaw has a Dr. No lab filled with Bond villainesses.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. And we do get that cool thing about Wolverine's bones being laced with adamantium, which is how it gets phrased for, a good decade and a half.
Right.
Is adamantium laced bones. Yeah.
Yep. And then they had a big fight.
Yeah. Strange drawings of Wolverine. Like the face is just odd.
Yeah.
The proverbial jiffy. That sounds just like Wolverine. I'll have you loosen the proverbial jiffy. And Colossus shows up. That's great. And they fight. And then he flips one over. Just fighting stuff. But in a really boring kind of way.
Yeah, it really is. And there's Cyclops taking pot shots from get out there, Psych. Come on, buddy.
And they're noticing that the project that had the Sentinels in use, they thought it was shut down, so they're surprised.
Oh, shut down, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sentinels break through the roof,
Yep.
as they always seem to.
Yeah.
As if it's really easy just to break through a roof. There's nothing above it. And then Storm arrives home. I actually think this drawing of Storm is great, too, because her body language is different.
Yes.
I think it's a good figure.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, more fighting stuff.
But we get something cool here, at least, or more interesting and fun, is Kurt using both his powers and his head and the arsenal to maximum impact, right? Oh, I can just bamf, and then suddenly a second later, their legs are blown off.
Right.
So
using the use of his powers.
Yeah, exactly. When the powers are used in a smart way, basically, right?
Yeah.
It adds so much more.
Yeah, and just to knock the art again, these three Sentinels that are having their legs blown. Okay, I do like the fact that they're kind of animating, like the different explosion on the three different Sentinel units. Like they go from they kind of fall over in sequence, so that works really well. But you don't get a sense of their scale from this picture. And this picture of their legs blowing up is the centerpiece of this page. It's the most important thing to happen on this page.
Right.
And I can see that there is an effort made to make it more important by having more dynamic color and to have a Sentinel breaking the panel barrier.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just look like there could be three clumsy dudes as opposed to three giant robots.
With names.
So,
yeah.
We need something next to them. We need them in context where we see that this is not a little explosion. These aren't just grenades. These are big explosions that are knocking out the legs of giants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it needs to just be in a context that conveys how dynamic that actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And Emma Frost comes in using Storm's powers and neutralizes the last Sentinel.
And does so in a way that's reckless, right? That's
sure.
In a way that, which again has been such a, up to this point, one of her hallmarks is the restraint of only doing what is required at the time because, she's keeping all options either open or she's looking at how things can affect other outcomes. So she's being a leader, really, what she's doing. She's being a field leader, right? She's trying to do minimal casualties to your own teams, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Amanda Sefton calls her out on it, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she shoots the X-Men.
And then she shoots the X-Men and Amanda.
Yep. Whose mother's a witch, by the way.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah. Then we get back to Emma Frost, or is it actually Storm in Emma Frost's body?
That's right.
And she's famously, a pickpocket and a lockpick.
She can get herself out. Yeah.
She's nowhere near helpless. We've seen that in other issues and from her history and her time in Cairo growing up. And, she doesn't know how to manage her telepathy. And Janet and Harvey are having... okay, hold on. Does Janet put on a wig?
Okay, good question. It 100% looks because if you look at Harvey's costume, it's all contained within the suit.
Yes,
the hair is in the suit. You don't see it, but this looks like It looks like a wig.
Like she's put on her costume, full armor, and then
happy to see female goons in this. What do we call
totally?
What do we call these people again? They had names,
right? Aside
from the names that Claremont gave them, so they can interact with each other.
Cutler,
whatever this goon name is of these dudes, pawns. We call them pawns.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it does look like she's in a pawn suit, but wants to make it her own, so she put on a wig.
Yes. Very weird. Grab her, Janet.
I don't know, Marco.
So out she goes, right? She's trying to escape. Very stressful. I feel terrible for Aurora. It's a really bad situation. She runs out. She gets out of that room. And she remembers something kind of interesting. A good callback to interacting with Jean and talking about how it's all about the focus. And if you basically focus your stuff, you can get this done. You can use your powers or limit your powers, whatever, just have control. So she has to go through kind of like telepathy training, which is good. And she finds herself sneaking into Kitty's room at night. Of course, Kitty doesn't know who it is. And
she tries to phase.
She does, and Emma Frost with Aurora inside, unfortunately, telepathically zaps her.
Yeah.
And knocks her out. I came to save this child I love, and instead I may have killed her, but probably not.
But most likely not.
Yes.
And that's it.
So Emma Frost and Aurora have switched bodies, and that is like the main thing going on here.
Yeah.
And this sets up a conflict, but this sets up a very low scope conflict.
Right.
There aren't plans to use Aurora's body to take over the world. It's just sort of they have some sort of scheme to kind of defeat the X-Men and whatever, but it feels like a very small scale kind of problem that they're going to work out probably.
Right. And then in the X-Mail, we get an answer to the question that we had paused at the beginning, which is what's happening with the art and why this issue and who are these people and what's going on.
What does it say?
For those of you who might have, so it's the yellow box at the top there. It says, for those of you who might have just felt a wee bit disconcerted by the new names listed as pencilers on this issue, some reassurance. What with one thing and another, especially our double-sized 150th issue extravaganza, schedules on the X-Men have gotten hectic of late. So to buy all concerned time to do their best work, Louise, editor, right, suggested giving a chance to some talented guys who've been clamoring to try their hands on this mag. Dave is already hard at work on X-Men 153, so we haven't got to 152 yet. And as near as we can determine, it should be quite ... unlike anything seen before in this book. Till then, enjoy the goodies being presented courtesy of Jim Sherman, Bob McLeod, and our stalwart favorite, Joseph Rubenstein.
It's interesting how, some artists or some pencilers are able to do multiple books in a month.
I believe that, right. And so this is something that we came...
Not Dave Cockrum.
Right, and we came up against this, or this happened in that first run that we did with the Cockrum Claremont, where there was another male like this, where it's like, hey, things are getting hectic. So we brought him some new talent to check things out.
Yep.
Cotton's back. So yeah, no, I mean, definitely in terms of just productivity, it doesn't have the same approach that that Byrne has for sure.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm not so concerned with what happens next issue. I have to be honest.
Okay, right. Except so the idea though, and this is something that we guess we're going to be exploring in future issues. Rival school, rival mutants, bad kids or whatever the heck it's going to be. I think it's a great premise. I think, but the way this, if we didn't know it was coming, put it that way, I think because we have the benefit of 40 years of knowing the next iterations, right? The next teams, the next major events. If you didn't know this was coming, it feels very flat going into it. But we can get somewhat interested because we know what might be on the horizon.
Wouldn't it have been fun if she gets there and she finds out that there is a whole like a whole team of
her age and like her age mutants who are like, come join us. No, you're like one of us, and then she realizes that they want to do bad shit instead of right. And she's got to like fight them one by one. We do like a Wolverine going through the whole thing.
Dude,
there's your book.
Dude. They have to beat up Janet and Harv.
Right. Oh, multiple times.
And the trophy is like holding up Janet's wig.
Don't forget that administrator. She looks really weird.
Yes. They had to fight Joker's aunt.
Yeah.
/ Mrs. Weatherby.
Yeah.
It could have been a whole thing.
Yeah.
But instead, yeah.
The body swapping, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little weird. The premise is fine. I didn't dig the execution too much, but David Cutler says this mind swap gets mythologized into being more than it was later on. Reading it, I was disappointed for sure. Yeah, I think that's like that with a lot of X-Men lore, where for the next, I'm going to say 30 years, writers mine the background incidences in Claremont's 17-year run for all these little pieces and try and pull the taffy to get as much out of them as possible. So much so that there actually is, I don't know if you know this, Chris, there is a Harv and Lucy 4-part miniseries coming out next year. They're just always
no.
Oh yeah, and Toby and Phil, like they're all getting miniseries. They're just trying to get as much out of the Claremont run as possible. Yeah, it's true. True story. I didn't just make that up right now.
Look it up.
Yes, someone was a fan of Trading Places. Jason says in reference to this. I think that's like a common Prince and the Pauper trope, but it does present a neat opportunity when you can switch consciousness. Especially the race piece is interesting.
Well, that's
the privilege piece, like Emma Frost being this aristocrat who is, in my head, like a huge racist. With all the Hellfire Club, I always imagine them to be that way. So, it is what it is. Read it the way you want to read it.
Yeah.
David says, I really want that Hellfire Pawn book now. Not just because I'm among their ranks.
Greg Cutler.
Yeah, they talk about Cutler all the time.
Like, is there like a pawn retreat in the summer? They go to like a cabin by the wood, they go to like the lakeside. They do like trust exercises with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
But are they all like nice people? And
that's what I mean. Like, are they
an organization that's evil, but they're actually all genuinely nice?
Right.
Or are they actually all evil people?
Right.
I think they're all really nice.
I think they just got a bit over their heads, and no one really wants to back out,
Yeah, it's fun. So yeah, X-Men 151. We haven't really hit that next level where I see this second wave of Cockrum issues or this post-Byrne era. It hasn't hit a stride for me where I'm gonna want to read these again.
Yes,
I'm still like waiting for that other piece where it's like, oh, we've hit a rhythm. And again, I think I know when it's coming, but I'm trying to be patient and give these issues the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
David said there's hiking campfire songs. It's a great honor just to be invited or so I'm told.
Wow, Cutler.
Oh man, sorry, dude. So I'm waiting for these issues to get good, and I know that there are more good things coming down the road. So we shall see. Anything you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Well, let's see. Is something you want to talk about?
It's something you want to. I know there's something you want to talk about.
We got something fun in the works.
Talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So, everybody, coming to Kickstarter soon. We are a part of a Kickstarter 100 January launch of trading cards of comic book characters from a whole bunch, 24 characters. Mostly, I believe they almost all are Canadian creators. But it's been a Kickstarter run through the Raid Publishing House here in Toronto, Ontario. It's got a whole bunch of people involved, and the pre-launch is up. It's on our Instagram. It's super fun. I don't know if any of you out there were in trading cards. Jay and I were both comic and sports, like them both. In fact, I've got the Marvel, a set of the Marvel cards right here, right there. So, they're going to look like this, except they're going to be our characters with, our own things and our power ratings and all that kind of silliness and fun. So look for that on our socials. It's going to be out. I think the Kickstarter starts pre-launch in a week and a bit. And hopefully that'll all get done and wrapped up in February. So that's super exciting. We're super thrilled to be part of it and to introduce our characters, both Peregrines and the group, from the group of 7 to hopefully a wider audience, and just kind of have some fun with it. We maybe get some bubblegum in there too. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, when we were talking to Ramon Perez from Raid, you and I were on the Zoom call with him, and I'm like giggling the whole time because everything is so much fun. I did the bubblegum ones, just putting together a bunch of cards of our characters, getting to see everyone else's characters in Marvel 90s card form too, and then getting to work with the templates and put it together. It's a real joy, and it's such a fun idea. And for us also, like, it's our first time collaborating in this way with other creators, and our first time getting to experience some form of Kickstarter crowdfunding thing. It's a really nice way to get involved, and really happy that we can make it work, and that they reached out and invited us in. So it's a lot of fun. David says, very cool, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Jason says, congrats, dudes.
Thanks, Jason.
Gary says, I'm working on Avengers vs. X-Men sketch cards for Upper Deck right now. Crazy. That sounds like a ton of fun, Gary.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. I have that series from back, in the mid-'80s, the X-Men versus Avengers, or Avengers versus X-Men, the original one. That's a lot of fun.
Gary, do you get to do both the art and some of like the biographical information as well, or are you working with a writer? Or I'm just curious. Feel free to add into the chat there, but that sounds really cool. Super fun.
That is super fun. And Jason says, Marvel Legends on now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just while we're waiting to see if we get a response from Gary in the chat, I'll just say, Jason, I can't remember, you got this one already. It's been on my bedside table. I love it so much. This is the first Wolverine that is pinless, so it's like an upgrade in terms of the pieces used. They're the same scale as the other Wolverines, but it's an upgrade in terms of its, I guess, the tech used to make it work. Gary says only the art, but not that that's a bad thing. It's an awesome thing, for sure, for sure. And it's, of course, a clear remake of this one from the 90s that I have, and I inherited this with the broken arm. So I'm gonna fix that.
What happened to his arm?
His arm broke. It's gonna be an easy fix. It's a clean break, just some glue and a bit of time.
Nice.
But what I love about it is that it's like really same colors. Like this is meant to be this. Like that's like a 1-to-1. But look at this face. Hold on.
Nice.
He's beautiful. It's a peg warmer. When I'm on the hunt for Dark Phoenix, I only see those Wolverines on the pegs. I whined about wanting this so bad to Kevin from Toy Around. He's like, just come and buy mine. Just come take it. I'm like, okay, I'll come take yours. The 2 times I went to the store, I didn't find it. Woe is me. So Kevin is going to have to probably get another one. But I love it. I know you say it's a peg warmer. I think it's super cool. And I pre-ordered the 2 3-packs that are coming in the spring.
Nice.
So I like this team. But I'm trying to figure out why these exist, like why Jim Lee drew them in the first place. And is it because Jim Lee wanted to draw them, or is there a, like, forget about what they say in the comic, because that's just like, that's the narrative. But what is the creative purpose for bringing these suits, or like for updating them, like giving them a teen look? Was it? I don't know. I'm kind of interested to find out more. But I always love the idea of
there's a Banshee fig, right?
There is the first modern Marvel Legends.
I gotta get that one, because Banshee, right? We gotta get that one.
Jason says, I dig his face sculpt, like the new one. Yes, not the goofy one I have. There's 2 faces. There's this one, and then I have him on the other body because I have him here. I have a shirtless black tank. And the paint don't match. Like you can see.
I thought you were gonna say like there's 2 heads, and the other head is him doing this. Ooh.
I wanted to see what it looked like on the body, like if it was the size of it. So there's a grit.
There's so much neck muscle there; it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Gary says, "Congrats on your Kickstarter card project, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
I'm really happy that Raid is doing this. Like Raid Studios is doing it, and we're along for the ride. So it's kind of a neat thing to sort of experience in the passenger seat, and just getting to be part of it is
and hopefully discover a whole bunch of cool new comics and creators too, right? Like, I mean, we know most of them, but we're just happy again to be part of the ride and support it and have some fun with it.
Totally.
And you're not the only person who got. I now have a new little X-Men guy. Oh, there he is.
Oh, $5 Fridays.
$5 Fridays, people. There you go. Iceman, who as a kid was definitely my favorite X-Men.
Oh, really?
I mean, shooting things from his hands, that was always a cool thing.
And also you like ice, like hockey.
Also, I love ice.
Yeah. Ice in your drink.
Bobby Drake. And he had a cool name, Bobby Drake. Yeah,
that's true.
Iceman.
Waiting for the blue and yellow Sunder. Yeah, Sunder's one of the Morlocks, isn't he? Wow, why are you laughing?
I don't know. Because I don't know who Sunder is. I'm just. Does he like make things asunder? Ref asunder.
No, I if memory serves. Again, I haven't read those early Jim Lee issues in a very, very long time. He was a big Morlock that I confused for Strong Guy.
Oh, big dude.
When Strong Guy shows up later, as I'm leaving, reading comics, and then people talked about Strong Guy, and I saw Strong Guy. I was like, "Oh, isn't that Sunder?" Like that was. I couldn't tell the difference.
Okay.
But hopefully, Jason will explain who Sunder is. Gary says, "I'm going to draw a Banshee in honor of you guys." Chris is the big time Banshee.
Means a lot. Thanks, man.
There you go. David says, "I want a Wolverine with a head sculpt from that panel where he was looking at the reader, asking Charles why he doesn't brainwash." He's parents like, yeah, to the side, like, shouldn't we do this? Shouldn't we brainwash?
You think we should brainwash? Just go to page 10. If you don't think we should brainwash,
audience, don't you think we should?
Exactly.
Didn't Charles do that last time? Remember?
Yeah. He even says in that issue we just read, he says, "I will not use my powers that way. I won't take advantage of them." And then he says, about 5 pages later, "Don't worry, I did a low-level scan of them to see if they were under the White Queen's control."
Right.
So he says, in 1 second, "I will not use my powers on her parents." And the next page, he goes, "I just used my powers on her parents." It is fantastic.
Jason says about Sunder, yeah, he dies in the first issue of the blue and yellow run. So when you say the blue and yellow run, that means when not blue and gold, like the two different books they have, or blue team and gold team, like later, but when they first the Muir Island team with
Right.
Forge Banshee, and I think Polaris is there, where they're all kind of coming out on that Jim Lee cover. Not 275, but like closer to about 251, 52, around there.
We've got a sweet Mignola cover of the X Factor book in that Muir Island saga.
Mm.
Yeah.
Jason says same, meaning he confused Sunder and a strong guy. Sunder is just the muscly Morlock. That's it. Just a muscly Morlock.
He's actually not even Morlock. He's just a dude who like goes to the gym a lot and is looking for friends. They're like, we'll take you.
The blue and yellow costume team, yeah. So when they assemble them, when basically what happens, Chris, you're going to see later, is the X-Men disbands.
Okay.
And they basically disappear. And this is around issue 250. And so because there is no X-Men team, like the people that are kind of hanging around, like Sunder, Forge, and Polaris, and a few others, Banshee, they like get on some training uniforms and go do a thing.
And Sunder dies.
Sunder dies right away.
Well,
he's not strong guy.
He had no powers. He just had muscles.
True.
And look at that super strong guy. You can bust through a door. It's like, I can't, guys. I will break my hand.
So now that I've finished reading the X-Men Jim Lee Claremont issues, where Claremont is now off.
Yeah.
I've just read where it's, he gets writing credit, but it doesn't feel like Claremont anymore. There's one where he like splits writing with Fabian Nicieza, and I'm like, oh, you're not writing anymore, are you? You just get your name on the book, you're out. So now I'm going to go back, I think, and read more of those, because I only read the last 12 in the last week.
And that's 150 issues away.
So I just read 169 through 280, which were the ones I did not have.
Okay.
Up until
I mean,
now I'm going to go back and read more.
When you put that into perspective, that's about 3 more years of shows if we did it every week. But at the same time, I'm kind of excited to do that.
Yeah. Oh, 2026, bro.
Like I want to get to that end to be like, we got to the end of the Claremont run.
2026. Yeah, it's just going to be an interesting. Like once we get to the end, then each week we're going to have to present the script for the next.
Oh my goodness.
Where it goes. John Byrne fan fiction. No, we're going to have to do.
You're the guys who did the uninterrupted Claremont run on YouTube.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready to take.
Yeah,
take
you know
over.
what? The world needs it. We're here for it.
Yeah, but really, it only has to be 20 issues. Just 280 until, or I guess 281 until 300 to just write the ship, let it end with him taking over the school and him being like a fully redeemed character, and yeah, there you go.
There you go.
On that note,
I do want to say a shout out to a couple new subscribers on our feed. Thank you very much. Juan Cornez, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Justin Collects. Thanks for subscribing to the Group of 7 Comics YouTube channel. And of course, there are comics right there as well. If you're interested, we did just recently also launch our online store on our website at www.group7comics7.ca, where it's all taken care of on the store, shipping and all that good stuff, and payment by credit card and all that stuff. We were using Google Forms before and making it work, but this is a much better step up, and you as the clients and the customers and readers get a much more seamless experience dealing with that. So if you are interested in checking out our comics, go to www.group7comics.ca, and we have a number of things there, including the comics that Jason is showing. Now I have a couple here as well. There you go. And we'd love to, or just shoot us a message. Check us out. We'd love to hear.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
we hope you do. Jason asks, will you cover Marvel Fanfare X-Men issues 1 through 4? Okay, thought about that today. Ironically, so Marvel Fanfare, my friend here, Chris, Marvel Fanfare is an anthology series edited by Al Milgrom in the early 1980s that basically was an opportunity to take really, really good work and execute it or print it on higher quality paper, longer format, charge double, no ads.
Okay.
It was like a chance to read some other stuff in a kind of nicer format. And what often happened was those surplus pages from all these runs were eventually catching up. And they're like, we got to print these surplus pages. We got to move on.
Right.
So that's one of the places where you could find all these surplus stories. The first run is written by Chris Claremont, art by Michael Golden and Paul Smith.
Who Michael Golden, we saw in the Avengers Annual.
And it's Savage Land, Spider-Man, and Angel. And then the next one, I believe they're X-Men. Huh. So when I see Spider-Man, Angel, written by Chris Claremont of that era, I'm like, oh, that's Marvel Team Up.
Right.
That's literally what Marvel Team Up was. So, because he was writing it. So I bet you those are, and I looked it up today as much as I could, and I did not find any source that said yes, this was a surplus story or like a back catalog story from Marvel Team Up that we never published, and we put it in Marvel Fanfare. But that's what my instinct says it was. Are we going to cover it? We did not plan to, but I can see how it is. It's definitely X-Men adjacent. So something to talk about for sure. Would you like us to cover that, Jason? It just means that we have to find digital copies to share. I think I have maybe 1 through 4 already, but I don't have scans of it yet. So we shall see.
That's really what it comes down to, like in terms of the thing that not a stumbling. Well, it could be a stumbling block, but the piece that we need to do this show is we just need a digital version so we can share it. And
I prefer scans of pages as opposed to like a Marvel digital comic, just because there is that nostalgia piece and the enjoying sort of how it was intended originally. But with like the Wolverine limited series, which I do intend on ambushing you with at some point, Chris, in the very near future.
Do it.
I've been illegally gathering pages and cropping them to send you a modified. Like I've been doing it
perfect.
But once a month, I kind of find the next issue and I crop it and make it nice for you, but haven't sent it to you yet. Oh, so dig through the dollar bins, meaning
to find the
right. But then I gotta scan them all. Like it don't make too much work, with formatting everything for the videos. But it definitely is an option. I would like to do that too. So anything that Claremont does with X-Men, it is telling one large story. Anything else you want to cover, Chris, before we call it a night?
I just want to say, shout out on people. You should know this. Our friend David Cutler in the chat here does have a comic coming out tomorrow. Ghost Rider number 10.
What?
Your comic book stores. Exactly. Anyway, so go check that out. David Cutler, Ghost Rider number 10. Coming out tomorrow.
Awesome.
There you go.
That reminds me. David, did you see the Leaf jerseys from the Indigenous game? What did they call the game?
Was it the Indigenous Day?
Indigenous celebration. Whatever. I don't know what the day was called or what the game was called. The reason I bring it up is because we were talking about the color choices for Thunderbird. And I'm seeing echoes of those choices represented in the beautiful designs for those Leaf jerseys from
Saturday night.
Saturday nights. It was the warm-up, I believe they wore them.
Yeah, they wore them. Yeah, and then they auctioned them off. Nice.
Right. Yeah, very cool. But I was thinking of you and your color choices.
And it's funny you mention that, Jason, because as hockey fans, I will say that I know so many people who are love the design of that, like love the design of those warm-up jerseys. They were beautiful. Yeah. And the colors. Like the colors. Like can we see this more on the team? Anyway.
Yeah, and being a Leaf traditionalist, like I never want them to change the colors, but when I saw that, I was like, okay, go add that. Let's do that.
Do that right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
David says thank you for the There you go. Gary, thank you for the offer. Thank you. Yeah, you definitely should look. For sure.
That's it?
Might not get the back. No.
No.
Gary.
No.
Offer, but no thank you. All right, guys. Everyone have a good night. Chris, thanks for hanging out with me and talking
been a
X-Men
blast.
as always.
Mhm.
And I'm looking forward already to the next issue to keep moving through. I gotta get to 280. Gotta see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
Can't wait, man. 3 years.
Everyone have a great night. Please click like. Please click subscribe, share. And we really appreciate everyone in the chat hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on the replay, consider commenting. Any kind of engagement really helps us promote the channel. So we really appreciate it. So good night, everyone. Have a wonderful week. And X-Men.
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 What more to say? X-Men.
Cheers.
See ya.